Tilat Adonai daber pi, v'yivrak kol basar shen kodsho le'olam va'ev, anachnu nvarech ya, yetavir olam hallelujah, v'al tzion goel, l'shavi v'ashav Yaakov nim Adonai, v'anizor b'tir otam amarai v'hujo. V'yata kadosh yoshev tilot Yisrael, v'karal zel zev yamar, kadosh, 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 Adonai tzmuch ha'aretz kevodo, mekablin dei midei miyan min kadosh b'shmei merom, ma'ila b'chchintei kadisha lagvura. Vatisa eni ruach va'eshma charai kol rash gadol baruch v'Adonai mimkomo. Adonai tzvanu mitzkavlanu mekavtzana tzvashana betachana Hashem elchenu mim koreinu baruch Eloheinu shebranu lichvo debidilad minatonatan. Leman yizamercha chavav l'odom l'nalohay l'madeka baruch hager asher tachvana be'Adonai mitacho b'yitchu b'Adonai. V'yivtechu b'chayod eishemecha ki lo azavta dorshecha Adonai. Adonai chavetz l'man tzidko yagdil Torah v'yahadir yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba. V'yamad yirach shutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomecho u'chaydecho beit Yisrael b'aglav v'zman karim v'imru amen yehesh meram borach le'olam me'amaya yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitparchuman v'yitnaseh v'tedavid le'vidalav shkena gudusha b'richu Salam go b'chata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata Tamiran me'amav v'imru amen. Irv, do you want to open the ark? Open the ark. Vani tefilati l'chadonai et ratzon Elohim b'rov chastecha aneni b'emed yishecha. Va'even so Aaron on the right. There's a string on the right side. Va'even so Aaron va'yomer Moshe kumara futu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzei Torah dvarnam Yerushalayim baruch shenatan Torah le'Moshe b'kedushato. Job is never done. Galul Adonai iti, Ramashem Moyachtav, L'chadonai D'olam Gavura. We only move the table just a little this way. It's more into the center. Just like maybe like 3 feet this way. Okay, that should do it. That's good. Okay. ותגלה בתראה מלכותו ומזמן קרוב יכם פליטתנו פליטתנו בייס ולכן לך רחמים לצום ונאמר אמן הכל הבו גולם אלוהינו נוחה בעוד התורה יעמוד דוד בן מרדכי לעלייה הראשונה ברוך שנתן תורה למויסו בקדושתו ואתן מדביקים לכם חיים כולכם היום. You don't need the talus. For the Aliyah, you don't need the talus.
I don't have it.
Shmini, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Page 630 for Parshat Shmini. You can show him the brachot. Switch places with him, maybe. Yeah, we can move that.
This one.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamrach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ויהי ביום השמיני קרא משה לאהרון ולבניו ולזקני ישראל ויאמר אל אהרון קח לך עגל בן בקר לחטאת ועיל לעולת תמימים והקרב לפני אדוני ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור קחו שעיר עזים לחטאת ועגל וכבש בני שנה תמימים לעולם ושור ועיל לשלמים לזבוח לפני אדוני ומנחה בלולב השמן כי היום אדוני נראה עליכם ויקחו את אשר ציווה משה אל פני אוהל מועד ויקרבו כל העדה ויעמדו לפני אדוני ויאמר משה זה הדבר אשר ציווה אדוני תעשו וירא עליכם כבוד אדוני.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam v'tehinu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Heather, we take a second Aliyah. Tamud. Chana bat Shena ba'aryeh liyashniya. Verse 7.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. ויאמר משה אל אהרון קרב אל המזבח ועשה את חטאתך ואת עולתך וכפר בתך ובעד העם ועשה את קורבן העם וכפר בעד העם כאשר ציווה אדוני. ויקרב אהרון אל המזבח וישחט את עגל החטאת אשר לו ויקריבו בני אהרון את הדם אליו ויטבול אצבעו בדם ויתן על קרנות המזבח ואת הדם יצק אל יסוד המזבח ואת החלב ואת הכליות ואת היותרת מן הכבד מן החטאת הקטיר המזבח כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
דוד ולינדה השלישית.
On page 631, verse 11.
Oh, well, yeah, I know.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch
Baruch Olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. ואת הבשר ואת האור שרף באש מחוץ למחנה וישחט את העולה וימציאו בני אהרון אליו את הדם ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב ואת העולה המציאו אליו לנתחיה ואת הראש ויקטר על המזבח וירחץ את הקרב ואת הקרעים ויקטר על העולה המזבחה ויקרב את קורבן העם ויקח את שעיר החטאת אשר לעם וישחטהו ויחטאהו כראשון ויקרב את העולה ויעשיה כמשפט.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Please rise as the Torah is lifted. Rabbi, can you bring the chair over?
אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל על משה עץ חייני למחזיקים בה בתומכי המאושר עץ חייני למחזיקים בה בתומכי המאושר
because it's the month of Nisan, we don't say the El Male, but did you want to share some memories of your father that you're here to observe as your site? Some memories that are coming to your mind?
You know, it's hard to. He's always there in the back of my mind, and in front of it too. But it's been this is the fourth year. Yeah, I miss him terribly. But I continue to sort of look at the future with him in sight, in terms of the things I do as a father and
Amen. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May his memory be a blessing to all of you and continue to live out his values in the next generation. Zoomers, I'm sorry I forgot to put that on microphone, but we heard beautiful memories of his father. I'm glad you're here with us this evening to commemorate. We continue to return the Sefer Torah to the Ark on page 220 in the Lev Shalem. Sorry, 221. Ya'alu Hashem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, das hashamayim yarn karen li'amo. דרכי דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם. תתגדל ויתגדל שמי רבה למד יברך יותר וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייך ובחיי בית ישראל בגבי בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן יהי שמי רב ומבורך לעולם ומעלמיה יברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתנשא ויתדבר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמנו קדושה בריחו ולנו כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. The Amidah for Shabbat afternoon can be found on page 223 in the Lev Shalem, 234 in the Slim Shalom, 574 in the Sim Shalom, said in a quiet whisper. still davening, please continue at your own pace. We begin the repetition 223, 234, or 574. Remain standing through the Kedusha a few pages later. Adonai, Sfatai, Tiftach, Ufi, Yagid, Hilatecha. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu v'lo Eloheinu lo Abraham lo Yitzchak lo Yaakov El HaGadol HaGibor v'Yanara L'Yon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Yaakov v'Zocher Chasdei Avod Umevi Goel Evnei v'Nehen L'man Shmo v'Yava Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen Baruch ata Adonai Magen Abraham Tagibor Le'lam Adonai Mechim Mitim Ata Rav Lo Shia Mashiv Aruach Mirdagashem Mechakel Chaim V'Chesed Mechim Mitim Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Rofei Cholim Atira Surim Mekayem Emunato L'Shenei Afar Michamocha Bagvarod Midom Elach Melech Meimitum Chayim Atzmiach Yeshua V'Namanot Elach Hayom Meitim Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayei HaMeitim Mekadesh Shemcha B'Olam Kishem Shemat Hashem Oto B'Shmei Marom Kaketov Yadim Yecha V'Kara Zeh Al Zeh V'Yamach Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Malach Haaretz, Kavod Elimatam, Baruch Yomeru. Baruch Kavod Adonai Min Kamodi, Reikot Shecha Katuv Limor. Yimlach Adonai Leolam, Elohai Etzion, Lador Vador, Hallelujah, Lador Vador, Nagid Gon Lecha, Volnetzach Zachim, Kedushatcha Nagdish, Veshivchacha Eloheinu. Yipino Lemush Leolam Va'ed, Kemel Kadosh, V'Kadosh, Ata Baruch Ata Adonai, Hayel HaKadosh, Ata Echad, V'Shimcha Echad, Umi Ke'amcha Yisrael, Umi Ke'amecha Yisrael, Goy Echad Ba'aretz, Tiferet Gedula, Ba'ateret Yeshua, Yom Menucha Uktusha Le'amcha Natata, Yom Menucha Uktusha Le'amcha Natata, Avraham Yagel, Yitzchak Yeranen, Yaakov uvanav Yanuchuvo, Yaakov uvanav Yanuchuvo, Menuchat Ahava Unedava, Menuchat Emet V'Yemuna, Menuchat Shalom V'Shava V'Hashked V'Vetach, Menuchat Shalom V'Shava V'Hashked V'Vetach, Menuchat Shlema Shatarot Zaba, Yakiru Vanecha V'Edu Kimilchai Menuchatam, V'Al Menuchatam Yadichu Yaktishu Et Shemecha, Eloheinu V'Levoteinu, V'Tei Menuchatenu, Kadshenu B'Mitzvotecha, V'Tenchokenu B'Toratecha, Sabeinu Mituvecha, V'Samchenu B'Shuvatecha, V'Tar Libeinu L'Avdecha V'Yemed, V'Anchilenu Eloheinu Be'avar V'Ton Shabbat Kodecha, V'Nuchuvat Yisrael Mekadeshei Shemecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat, V'Tzei Adonai Eloheinu B'Mcha Yisrael V'Tvilatam, V'Yeshevet Avodah L'Dvir B'Techa, V'Yishei Yisrael T'Vilatam, V'Vati V'Ratzon, V'Til Ratzon, Tamid Avodah Yisrael Amecha, V'Techazena Eineinu, V'Shuvchat Zion B'Rachamim, Baruch Atah Adonai, HaMachazir Shechinato L'Tzion, Modim, V'Nagdalach Shawad Adonai L'Tzorchim. Al niflotecha v'tovotecha shbechol et erev v'akatzanto. Hatov kilo halo racham mechem racham kilo tam v'chasadecha me'olam kivinu lach v'yal kulam yiparach v'ram shimcha mokin otem ilam be'ed v'chol lachem yidu chasela ve'elu et shimcha b'med ayushotenu ve'ezratenu sela baruch ata Adonai atov shimcha lachana el hodod shalom rab ayishem chatisim le'olam kitam elachadon l'chol ha'shalom v'tov beinecha l'varechem chayishem b'chol et v'chol sha'abi yishlamecha Baruch Atah Adonai, Havarech et Amo Yisrael B'Shalom. Page 230 at the top. Tidchadcha tzedek le'olam, v'torcha emet, v'tidchad elohim b'ad marma asher sigdal lo delachim michamocha, tidchadcha kari al mishpatecha, dohom rabba, Adam v'behema, toshia Adonai, yigadav yigadash merabba, v'madi v'chatev v'michvotev v'chayachona v'mechonu chaytachol b'yisrael v'gavav v'zman kariv yimru, amen, yehesh meram vorach, le'olam me'al mayayit barach, v'ishtabach v'tparjama v'naseh v'tadar v'talev v'talash v'nekudu shabrichu, le'olam rechol b'chatav v'shirotah, v'chav v'nachmatah, d'amiran v'yamav v'imru, amen, תקבל צאתנו ואתנו לכל ישראל קדם הנדי ושמיה ואמרו אמן יהי שלה רב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן Oseh shalom ramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael b'meru amen. We rise for aleinu, page 231. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol atekul asever shebechol amin. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא לשמיים יעשה מה שבקרוב השם. על כן נקרב ולחדן אלוהינו לא מהר עד אוכל גאולת. ככתוב בתורה תחת אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר ויד אדוני למלך כל הארץ ביום ההוא יד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. קדיש התום mourners קדש יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעמד יברח ירותי וימלוך מלכותי וחייכון ויומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. ישמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא יתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה חיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום עולמיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We have a guest presenter this afternoon, which we'll be learning from Jonathan Mime in just a few minutes. Those who are here in person, go get some light dinner, and we'll have Sudash Lishit. In about 10 minutes, we'll start the learning. Zoomers, don't go anywhere. The learning will begin in about 10 minutes, so you can go get some leftovers for your own Shabbat lunch and join us in a few minutes.
Well, that's what I always say to others. You have to be
Everything's online, so you know it's here. Wasn't the case before. You would just have to read on your own and ask somebody maybe. Right. I'm doing. I signed up for Ray. But I need new tours. So whenever my host is late, I start out like immediately go to
traditional way because the old times they went to this people would go to Thailand.
yeah, my husband taught me.
Everybody,
Who is saying hello?
Joey,
Hi, Joey. How you feel?
I'm still under the weather. I tested positive yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Are you? Is it a bad case?
No, I'm fully boosted and vaxxed, so
Okay.
I'm going to test again on Monday because I first started feeling symptoms Sunday, not knowing what it was.
Okay. Well, I hope you recover quickly and that you come back to us soon.
I hope I do too. My goal is to be back to my old self by Passover.
That
Rabbi?
would be a great thing to achieve. Yes.
It's Tybal. I just wanted to tell you I'm admiring your pre-Omer haircut.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. It was about time.
Hi, Rabbi Clickfeld. It's Roseanne Kanan.
Hi, Roseanne. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
I can hear you,
Shalom.
but can't see you. But nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, I'm, not fit for human spectating.
Well, your square isn't even on the screen, so
What?
Your the display I'm looking at now does not show every square, so that's why I wasn't even
Oh,
sure
because
it was you.
I see my square.
Yes.
Well, anyway, Shabbat Shalom and Shavua Tov in advance.
Shavua Tov, and glad you're here for this. We'll
start. Yeah, I really want to see the folk dancing and hear about the history of it.
Yeah, we'll start in about 5 minutes.
Great.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
I don't remember if I emailed you this, but while we're waiting, Josh Cahan's writing a Haggadah.
Josh Cahan?
Yes.
I didn't know
I'm
that.
assuming you know Josh from
Yeah, of course I know Josh.
from the obvious. And I suggested he include the words that are needed for the Moroccan custom that you taught.
The Bivhilu Yatzana Mitzrayim?
Yeah. I was trying to remember
Okay.
all the words. I have it. We've now done it. This will be the third year, I think.
Wow.
Anyway, I told him that he should it would be good to have the words in the Haggadah. And
Good.
of course, I sent him the 2 links from when you taught it, which
Okay,
I
good.
checked and still work.
Good. Glad to hear that. Yes, Josh and I go way back.
Yep, the age cohort fits.
He was my roommate in a hotel in Lublin, Poland in 1990. So it's a strong bond.
Wow. And what was going on in Lublin 1990, that was before rabbinical school, right?
Yeah, it was before college. It was USY's Eastern European pilgrimage, the first year they did it. And we were both on the trip, and we happened to be roomed together in Lublin. Why I remember that, I don't know. Okay, so that we have enough time while people are still getting their food, it's my honor to introduce our guest presenter this Shabbat afternoon, Jonathan Minha. He's a film director. His first film, Journey from Tunisia, is about his family's emigration from Tunisia to Israel, and was selected to play at film festivals in Los Angeles and New York and Chicago, and screened in shuls in London and Europe. When he's not working on film, and you're about to hear about the film he's working on now, you can find him attending music shows, designing mobile apps and websites, and playing tennis. It's our honor to have Jonathan Minha with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, thank you, everyone. Do you know if there were any printouts that can make this a little more interactive? Okay. We'll hold for a sec. I want to make this a little more. Yes. We want to make this a little more interactive, so the printouts will allow you to experience a little more of what I'm working on. So maybe I'll just, while people are getting settled in, I'll give a little bit of an intro for who I am and the project I'm working on now. So as mentioned by the rabbi, my name's Jonathan Minha. I'm a film director, and we're about 11 months into a new film that I'm working on tentatively called I Hear You, which is going to be the first film about Israeli folk music and dance and the history. And the premise of the film is there's a band in Northern California that regularly plays this kind of music at simchas, at weddings, bar mitzvahs, holiday celebrations. And they'll come with me to Israel, and we'll meet the last surviving generation of Israeli folk musicians who are in their 80s and 90s today. So that's the film, and later after Havdalah, we'll talk more about that. But for now, we're going to focus on Israeli folk music and dancing, and specifically look at a song called Mayim, which many of you may be familiar with. For those who probably know it, Mayim is water in Hebrew. And actually, the official title is Ushafta Mayim, but it's popularly known as Mayim. And this is a song that I think's interesting on a number of levels, which we'll get to in a moment. Thank you. Everyone have? Okay. So I don't know the ages of everyone here, but this was published in 1946 in Tel Aviv. This was a guide to how to do this new dance, relatively new dance, that came out of Israel and was then distributed across the world. So if you go to the first page here on the back left, you can see, and for folks on the Zoom, that's what it looks like. Um, yes, yeah, I think it's before it became the official Mayim step, which anyone taking beginner Israeli dance would learn maybe in the first or second class. But you can see, yeah, grapevine. Before, we had the internet and videos. There was a very specific step-by-step drawing and guide for how to do these dances. Yes, very, very extensive. So this would get printed and sent to New York and all over. And so if I could have a volunteer, I'd love someone to read on page 3, the first paragraph that just says the history and the history of this dance. Great.
This is a real kibbutz creation of the new Jewish Palestine. The dance was born in Degania, mother of the kibbutzot, on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. From there, it found its way, born by the youth, to Kiryat Anavim, in the hills of Jerusalem, where it underwent some changes and development. At the first folk dance meeting at Dahlia in the summer of 1994, it met with an enthusiastic response on the part of kibbutz dancers from all over Palestine. They quickly learned the new dance and brought it home to their own kibbutzim. Now it is being danced from Dan to Beersheba, from Ramim to Gevulot. In this dynamic dance, you feel the eternal rhythm of the waves, the movement of water drawing from the well, and above all, the supreme joy in finding water that revives the desert. The facile and beautiful form of the dance makes it possible to perform it as a mass dance.
Thank you. Yeah, in case we'll do some more reading later. Thank you for that. So as you can tell from the last paragraph, the dance steps themselves and the movement of the dance was very much done to mimic the flow of water. And as kind of, if folks know the dance, towards the middle, you kind of come in and you do this. It's almost like a fountain, something gushing. The way water would appear. And so the dance itself was very much designed to mimic intentionally what finding water in the desert after a 7-year search. So that's a little bit about the dance. But actually, before we get into the music of it, there's a little bit of controversy, or it was not known who created the dance for about 40 years. So the dance was first created in 1937, but the owner of the dance, so to speak, the original choreographer, wasn't revealed until 1972. And it's a very interesting story. So I'm going to read this short article or letter to the editor called "The Origins of Mayim." For backstory or context, in 1972, the Jerusalem Post published a overview of Garit Kadman. For folks who do Israeli dancing, they might recognize that name. She's considered the mother of Israeli folk dance. So this is a letter after this publication was done about Garit Kadman. I referred to Dora Sodin's very interesting report about folk dancers, December 3rd, and permit myself to refresh the memory of, quote, the mother of folk dance, and state that I created the dance, Mayim Mayim, and stage it together with Yehuda Sharit on the occasion of the water festival at Nan, when water was found there after a 7-year search. We took this dance to many kibbutzim in the Emek and Jordan Valley in the late 30s, and from there it was adapted by many new kibbutzim around the country. I was also present at the first dance festival at Dahlia in 1944, and at that time I pointed out to Garit Kadman, whose life work for the development of folk dance I appreciate very much, that my name was missing from the printed program of the dance performed there. And get this, her answer was that this was a great compliment to me because the first Israeli folk dance was born thus. In other words, when the choreographer becomes anonymous. At that time, I accepted the compliment at face value, so you can imagine my surprise to read that Garit Kadman had said she did this dance at Dahlia in 1944. And the journalist followed up with Garit Kadman, and this is the response. Since my article appeared, Garit Kadman has written to me praising the article, saying that Mai Mai was not her dance, but was anonymous from the beginning. This is not what I remember hearing from her when I interviewed her, but I may have misheard amidst the music and dancing and drumming. So it's an interesting story. So the choreographer of this dance was a woman named Elsa Dublin, and it was done in 1937. But to share a little more about Garit Kadman, who's considered the mother of Israeli folk dancing, and not to take anything away from her contribution to Israeli folk dance, she was born in 1897 in Leipzig, Germany. And as a child, she was attracted to nature and folklore. She joined the German youth movement, Wandervogel, which sought out Germany's cultural roots and folk expression. At some point, I think in the 20s, I don't have it in my notes, she did come to Israel. And in 1944, it was a basically big year in Israel for the history of Israeli folk dancing and the influence of Kadman. That summer, she organized and staged a pageant for the Feast of Shavuot, Hag HaBikurim, based on the Book of Ruth, and it became the incentive for organizing a folk dance festival. And at that point, she saw an opportunity to begin a major undertaking to correct the lack of indigenous Israeli dances, an initiative that would reflect the return to three things: the land of Israel, to agriculture, and to biblical folk sources. And so that was sort of the driving force behind bringing in Israeli folk dancing. So I want to get into the music side. So that was a little bit more about the dance. I'm not going to dance here on stage. There's probably better Israeli dancers in the audience. But as you can see with the sheet, this is what the moves look like. So let's talk a little bit about the music. If you folks look at the next page, for folks on Zoom, you can see it here. So I'll actually sing this very briefly, and then we'll talk about it in a sec. And this tune should sound very familiar to everyone. Ushaftem mayim bisason, mima heya Yeshua. Ushaftem mayim bisason, mia meya Yeshua. Mayim, 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 hey mayim bisason, mayim, 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 hey mayim bisason. Ha, 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 ha. Mayim, 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 mayim bisason, mayim, 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 mayim bisason. Okay, so some very interesting things about this song. First is the composer. At the top, you can see music E. Pugachov. I was trying to research who's Pugachov because every name I saw said Amiran, Emmanuel Amiran. So who's Pugachov, who's Amiran? So at some point, he changed his name from Pugachov. He was born in Warsaw to Ukrainian parents in 1909. And in 1924, so as a 15-year-old, he came to Palestine. And he was sort of a savant or very proficient, successful composer. At age 12, he composed his first song, which was performed to the poet Haim Nachman Bialik, very famous poet, in his parents' house, I believe in Odessa or Warsaw. And so he wrote Mayim Mayim in his mid-20s in maybe 1936 or 1937. There's a few really interesting things about this song specifically that combine, and this really defines what Israeli folk music is about. There's elements from Eastern Europe, there's elements from the Bible, and there's elements from the Orient or the Middle East. And it's very evident in this song what those are. So for folks who know music, maybe I'll ask the audience, does anyone know what key this is written in? C minor, yeah, very nice, C minor. So it's written in a minor key, and that's often more associated with Eastern European melodies that are maybe more sad or longing or mournful. And then the second thing is in the middle part, there's this really interesting section where it goes ha, 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 ha. And that's not typically what you'd hear in Eastern European or Central European music. You know, Beethoven's Ninth doesn't have any like ha, ha, ha's in the middle. And this sort of percussive rhythm and percussive sound is much more true about Middle Eastern music. And so if you've ever seen like Yemenite dancing or heard Yemenite music, it's far more percussion based. And so Pugachev or Amiran was trying to replicate that or put elements of that into the song to make it, quote, Israeli. And then third is this is a biblical verse. And you can see it here at the bottom from Isaiah, therefore with joy shall ye draw water out of the wells of salvation. So a combination of those three factors really give it the essence or the formula of Israeli folk music. So this song survives today because of the dance. So I talked earlier about I'm doing a film on Israeli folk music and dance. They're very much interrelated. You can't tell the story of one without telling the story of the other. Pugachev, Amiran, he wrote 600 songs, but only a couple kind of, are still listened to today. And this is probably the best known one. And that's because this dance is taught to young children and any beginner Israeli folk dance class. And in fact, Minha is actually a very interesting song because it is very popular and well known in Asia. So no one would maybe have guessed that. But in the 1950s, what's that? In Japan and Taiwan specifically. So in 1957, there was basically the Allies who were still very much involved in the rebuilding of Japan, brought a prominent square and folk dancer named Ricky Holden, who was not Jewish, but he visited Israel on this world tour. And after visiting Israel, at some point later, went to Japan, and he needed to teach all these school children a simple dance that was easy to learn, and that kind of helped fill the recreational dance time that they had. And so he taught Mayim. So every Japanese school child basically learned Mayim. And as those children, grew up, and in the 80s, as Japan was exporting their culture through video games and through anime, you hear this song very often in many different video games and anime. And so it's a very interesting thing. And actually, in Taiwan, Israeli folk dancing is quite popular, of all places. And it was this single trip that effectively the Americans helped organize that led Mayim to be maybe the first Israeli folk global phenomenon. Now, this is just one song. There's other songs. Obviously, Hava Nagila is another very well-known folk song that was written in Israel. I'm not going to go too much into it. If folks are interested, there's a fantastic movie called Hava Nagila, which was directed and produced by woman Roberta Grossman in 2012. And it talks about the song starting in Ukraine, getting written in Israel, and then becoming, again, a global phenomenon. Like you hear it at hockey games and you hear it at all these other places. So that's another example of how Israeli folk music has these roots in Eastern Europe, was penned or written in Israel, and then exported throughout the world and still heard very much today. So that's on Israeli folk music. If folks want to look at the final page, there are some biblical passages. I figured I'm presenting this at a synagogue, I should bring up the Bible. Yeah, and I think we have time. So if another volunteer could read from the book of Samuel, David and Saul's service.
Who's volunteering?
It's in English. It's
am.
not Hebrew. I'm not asking anyone to read the
All
Hebrew.
right.
So
David in Saul's service from the first book of Samuel, chapter 16, verses 14 through 23. Now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. Saul's attendants said to him, "See, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. Let our Lord command his servants here to search for someone who can play the lyre. He will play when the evil spirit from God comes to you, and you will feel better." So Saul said to his attendants, "Find someone who plays well and bring him to me." One of the servants answered, "I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him." Then Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." So Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine, and a young goat, and sent them with his son David to Saul. David came to Saul and entered his service. Saul liked him very much, and David became one of his armor bearers. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, saying, "Allow David to remain in my service, for I am pleased with him." Whenever the Spirit from God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him.
So what is this biblical wisdom saying about the power of music? It makes everything better, right? And I was just curious, and I looked at the New Testament to see, was music reflected in kind of the Christian holy book? And in fact, it's almost very seldom mentioned. Whereas in Judaism, we hear these clues and these stories that talk about the power that music has. And I think, for anyone in this room, obviously this intuitively makes sense. But it was really interesting to see how music's been part of our Jewish history for thousands and thousands of years. And has, what's that? As has depression and evil spirits and anxiety. So, it's all in this book, It's all in this book. But I thought that was interesting. And then there's another passage here from Chronicles about bringing the ark to the temple. If we could get a third volunteer.
The priests then withdrew from the holy place. All the priests who were there had consecrated themselves regardless of their divisions. All the Levites who were musicians, Asaph, Heman, Yedutun, and their sons and relatives, stood on the east side of the altar, dressed in fine linen and playing cymbals, harps, and lyres. They were accompanied by 120 priests sounding trumpets. The trumpeters and musicians joined in unison to give praise and thanks to the Lord. Accompanied by trumpets, cymbals, and other instruments, the singers raised their voices in praise to the Lord and sang, "He is good, his love endures forever." Then the temple of the Lord was filled with the cloud, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the temple of God. That's from 2 Chronicles 5:11 through 14.
Yeah, thank you for that. And this is, I think, an even more power. So music has the power to heal, which you saw in the first passage. This is the power to bring divine presence into our world. And I think that's a really powerful quote. And obviously, today we don't really play with lyres and cymbals in the synagogue. But in some ways, music is a way to bring, divinity to our lives. And in a sense, much like you saw with Minha, it's a way of connecting the Bible with modern instruments and making it relevant. I think for us, someone asked me earlier, why are you doing this project? Why Israeli folk music? And it's deeper than just the last 75 years of Israel. This music really goes back to our culture and our heritage and our tradition as Jews. And so that's why it's very important to try to document this and understand where these songs came from and who these people were who created these songs and dances. And later this year in Israel, we'll have a chance to meet some of these people. So thank you for that. I hope that was interesting. I'll take maybe a question or two if there's time. Potentially, if I can get it arranged, then Carmel is August 1st through 3rd. It's for folks who don't know, it's a big dance festival in Israel. Yeah, so hor is actually, I believe, a Romanian word, and all the Balkan countries have different variations of that word. I think in Russia they call it the horo, and in Bulgaria they say the horo. So it comes from Eastern Europe, but you got to imagine most of the early settlers before 1948 came from there. So they needed something, so they borrowed the folk dance traditions that they learned when they were teenagers in Eastern Europe. Yeah, it's a great question. So the first Israeli folk dance was something called Hora Agadati, which was written in 1924. And Hava Nagila, the song that most people kind of know today, although it's not necessarily a folk dance in the way that you would learn Hava Nagila if you go Israeli folk dancing, was written in 1925. But some parts of it were written in 1918, according to some sources, based on celebration of after the Balfour Declaration was made public. So so there was stuff earlier from the 20s, and I'm sure there was more, but very little of it made it to the present day. So my mime's one of the earliest because it comes from the 1930s. Probably not. Oh, the question was, is the film going to cover the present day? And no, there's too much to try to cover in 80 to 90 minutes. What's the question here?
When I went back to Iran, all the students at university were asking me, what did I learn? I mean, I gave the information, the conferences about the kibbutzim, moshavim, everything. But then the best way for me was to teach them Hava Nagila. And actually, all the university students, they were in a strike and doing things. In our faculty, everybody was dancing Hava Nagila. And the Japanese, I know, who were with us, they made kibbutzim in Japan, and it was very successful program. I don't know if they danced that day.
Wow. Okay. So the kibbutzim concept as well, it sounds like you're saying,
they
was brought
have
to Japan.
very successful because I was with group Afro-Asiatic and the and Latin Americans. The Africans tried, everybody tried a little bit, but Japanese were the best.
Okay. Very interesting. Thanks for sharing. Maybe one more.
Hi, I have a comment on Zoom.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, yes, I'm Roseanne. And yeah, I'm interested to see your film when it comes out. And I wanted to mention, I wanted to see if you're familiar with the postcard project.
No, I'm not.
It's closely related to what you're doing. Even before the state, some Zionist organizers contacted composers in all different countries, and the composers contributed on postcards, songs, words, and music, so that when all these diverse immigrants from all over got to Israel, they would be able to sing together and, of course, eventually dance together. I don't know if the rabbi is still there, but yeah, I'd like to call that to his attention too. Now, do you know who Michael Isaacson is?
I don't think so.
Well, you're too young. Michael Isaacson is one of the premier composers of Jewish liturgical music of the 20th century. And he actually has a whole presentation that I saw at the institution formerly known as the UJ. And Michael lives in Florida now. He moved from the San Fernando Valley to Florida. But it would make a great program for the shul. It would have to be Zoom, but it's really, really good. And some of the most familiar songs, and some of these composers were composers that we know from popular music. Hi, Rabbi.
Noted.
Okay.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, yes, one more question. Let's get the microphone to him.
Good evening. My question is, what is your inspiration? And is there a teacher, a choreographer, or summer camp experience or something that has inspired you to love and appreciate Israeli music and dance, and why reason for you to make this movie?
Yeah, a quick answer on that. And if she's listening, my mom was a Jewish music teacher doing Jewish music for about 30, 40 years. My dad's Israeli, so, but he's not a musician or a dancer, far from it on both counts. So yeah, I guess the passion for Israel is on that side, and the knowledge of music and dance and performances from the other side.
I want to thank Jonathan for that presentation. Shakoach. After Havdalah in about 15 minutes, please linger. We're going to show the trailer, I think, for the movie and some of the.
More of the songs and the dancing.
So after Shabbat, we'll do that, and we'll figure out a way to do it on Zoom somehow. I'm not sure how, but don't go anywhere. I can't imagine. It's hard to believe anyone could have read the description of the dance and known how to do the dance as a result. And my favorite thing is part C14. This is so Jewish. The tip of the right foot touches the ground beside and slightly behind the left foot while the left foot hops. No hand clapping. I'm just imagining someone saying that in 19. Do not clap your hands, you chalutz. This is not hand clapping time. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Shakoach, Jonathan. Okay, we're going to jump into Mariv, which can be found. What's that? Oh, yes, Birkat Hamazon. I did not have bread. Reb Chaim, did you have bread? Would you like to leave Birkat Hamazon? Let's get him a microphone.
Shir Hamalot b'shuv Adonai et shivat Zion hayinu kecholmim az yimale tzchok pinu l'shonenu riina az yamaru v'hagoyim higdil Adonai lasoti meile higdil Adonai lasoti manu ahayinu semechim shuv Adonai et shivitenu kafikim b'negev Azorim bedima berin hayikzoru Haloch yelechu vacho nose meshech hazara Bo yavo berina nose alumotav Chaverai nevarech
Yehi Shem Adonai Barach Mitavi Olam.
Yehi Shem Adonai Merach Miatavi Adolam Bershut Chaverai nevarech Eloheinu shachanu mishalov
Baruch Eloheinu shachanu mishalov tuvo chayinu.
Baruch Eloheinu shachanu mishalov tuvo chayinu Baruch Hu Baruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Baruch Atah Adonai Azan et hakol
Amen.
Bial hakol Baruch Atah Adonai al haaretz v'al hamazon Rachem Adonai Eloheinu Reitzei v'hachalitzenu Uvenei Yerushalayim Yekadosh b'meir Aveinu Baruch Adonai boneh berachamav Yerushalayim Amen Harchamanyan Chalinu Mishkolo Shabbatu Menucha Lechayei Ha'olamim Adonai oz li amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
Shakoach. Mari can be found on page 264 in the Lev Shalem, 281 in the Slim Shalom, 200 in the Sim Shalom. Please rise for the Baruch Hu. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, ברבה להשיבה פה בכל חמתו, אדוני הושיע מלך יעננו ויום קוראנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה מקום אשר בדבר מרים. אחד וקיים תמיד המלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המערי ברבים, אהבת עולם בית ושלום. בעבדך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, ואמונה כזו וקיים עלינו קיום. ומלכותו רצון קיבלו אליהם, משה ונעשו לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נוראתי לא תוסיף אלה. מלכותך רבנך בו קיים לפני משה זה אלינו, ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלינו, שלום עבדנו מלכנו לחיים ופסן, שכר שנחתנו ביתת. דבר אחר ברב יד על נסר שטן. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים השלום יתה ביד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל ליד. ברוך אדוני לעולם אמן ואמן ברוך אדוני בצדקו. ברוך אדוני ביום ברוך אדוני בלילה ברוך אדוני בשכבנו. כי המלכות שלך היא, וליום מעט תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, ברוך אתה, אדוני המלך בכבודו תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו יתגדל ויגדש שמי רבה. במאי דברך ירתיו ימליך מעבודתו בחייכונו וימלכונו וכן לכל בית של בעגלה בזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם נעלמי עלמיה. יברך וישתבח ויתפאר שמן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ותהלל שמו לקדושה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ויעלמה אמרו amen. The Amidah said in a silent whisper beginning 270, 286, or 210. Yikadav Yikadav Shemir Rabba Madi Rakotev Mich Makotev Chayachona V'Yamechon Uchedachol Beis Yobagav Bizman Kariv Yimru Amen Yehesh Meram Vorach Le'olam Me'al Mayai Brach V'Shtabach V'Yitparj Ram Yaseh V'Tadav V'Delav V'Delav Shvene Kudusha Brichu Le'lam Nekol B'Katav V'Shirata Tush B'Katav Nechamata Daran B'Yal Mav Yimru Amen Tikabel Tzon Avartan Dachol Yisrael Kadam Hundi V'Shmaya V'Yimru Amen Yehesh Lama Rabba Min Shmaya V'Chaim Len V'Koy Shov Yimru Amen Oseh Shalom Ramav, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'al Kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. Aleinu, page 281, 297, or 696. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, l'teiku l'ayosherji. Shtachavim u'modim l'pemach v'chamachim. Thank you. Kakatu Torah Techanayim Loch Lelam Veben Emar Vayadonai Lamelcha Kol Haaretz Bayom Hahu Yadonai Echad Ushemo Echad Kadisha Tom Mourner's Kaddish Yitkadal V'Yishama Shemei Rabbah V'Yalmad Yibrach Yirutei V'Yamlich Malchutei V'Chaye Chon V'Yomei Chon V'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Lagalav Yisman Kari V'Yimru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Ne'amel Maya Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitramam V'Yitnaseh V'Yithadar V'Yitalev V'Yithalal Shemei Dekudesha Brichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechamata Damiran V'Alma V'Yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom Imramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru Amen. We'll gather for Havdalah and then show some of those clips, and we look forward when the movie comes out to screening it at Temple Beth Am to a wide audience. So let's come around the bima for Havdalah. Yeshuati Eftach velo Efchad Ki Yoziv Ezimrad Adonai Vayehi Li Lishua Ushavtem Mayim Besason Mimane Yeshua Ladonai Yeshua Alamcha Birchatecha Sela Adonai Tzvaot Imanu Miskav Lanu Elohei Yaakov Sela Adonai Tzvaot Ashrei Adam Boteach Bach Adonai Yoshia Hamelech Yaneinu V'Yom Koreinu La Yehudim Hayta Ora V'Simcha V'Sason V'Yekar Kein Tiyeh Lanu Kos Yeshuot Esa Uv'Shem Adonai Ekra Yainanai Yananai Yainanai Yananai. Hector accidentally closed the Zoom here on this one, so I don't think they can see me anymore. I don't know if they're even, I think they're still hearing. Sorry, Zoomers, we're gonna get you right back up. That's what happened to me. Can they still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hi Zoomers. We're trying to find the video, but while we're doing that, we'll continue Havdalah. Baruch atah Adonai Elohim hacholam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai hacholam borei minei besamim. Baruch atah Adonai hacholam borei miorei ha'esh. Baruch atah Adonai hacholam avdil ben kodesh l'chol ben elochoshek ben Yisrael min yom hashvil sheshem mehamase. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lecho hamavdil ben kodesh lecho chatot chozarenu v'chaspeinu yarbe yarbe kacho v'kakochavim balayla Zarenu v'chaspeinu yarbe yarbe kacho v'kakochavim balayla Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Agil. B'meheira yavo eleinu Mashiach ben David b'meheira yavo eleinu Mashiach ben David. Shavua to everyone. Linger for 2 minutes. We're going to set up the video. It'll be visible on Zoom as well, and Jonathan will explain what we're looking at. And we're gonna use that screen, Hector. So if you're in the room, kind of move your chair this way because there's a screen that's going to come down from that section. And don't worry, Zoomers, you'll see everything. So just give us 2 minutes to set it up, and we'll be right there.
My name is Jonathan. My name is Jonathan Myman. I'm a film director making the first film.
So this, just for context, this is a 2.5-minute trailer. So I didn't give full context. So use a mic so they can hear you on Zoom.
Hello. Okay. So for full context, what you'll see, it's a 2.5-minute trailer. It's largely focused on this band, this folk group from Northern California. And you'll hear they kind of play these old Jewish songs, but with a modern twist. And really with a focus on dancing and getting people moving. And then you'll see some archival footage, which comes from Europe in the 30s and 40s and Yemen in 1949. And I'll explain a little bit of the footage after. And then after, we'll see some of the Israeli musicians that we hope to meet when we get to Israel to make this film. So. No, it's wherever Safari was. Whatever window you have. I would just share the desktop. Yeah, someone sees.
Where is it? Where is it?
Oh, it's probably in the. Like it's on the other window. I can just open a new thing. Okay, so this is sharing. My name is Jonathan Myman. I'm a film director making the first film on the history of Israeli and Jewish folk music. we're going to follow a band, an American Jewish band from Northern California, as they make their first trip to Israel. There, they'll meet the last surviving generation of Israeli folk musicians who are in their 80s and 90s today. I first met this band at my sister's wedding. They had this energy that brought the whole house down. I can't wait to share this story with you all.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, and Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila Hava Nagila.
At the time, I don't think I thought violin could be played in a rock band.
We're trying to find a connection to our past and our history and our Jewish culture, but present it in a way that's fun and exciting.
Not just people are coming to watch a performance, people are there to like touch on this tradition that goes far, far back.
It feels like it's ours.
This is touching on something old. The pop music changes, the wedding music changes, but that music is always the thing that gets people out dancing. It's always going to be there for us.
I would love to see like what Israeli folk dance looks like in Israel. Sort of see some of the roots of what we're trying to bring here and actually get more of an authentic connection in that way.
There's a genre of music I grew up with in my synagogue that I thought was the Jewish music, and it's just, you know, not necessarily the case. There's so many genres and so many types of singing.
It would be a really cool experience to get to go to Israel and, you know, see people who have been kind of closest to the pioneers. We could make an interesting contribution to Jewish art and Jewish culture.
Shemati, Dibarti, Shemati, Dibarti, Shemati.
I'll have you take a question too, but yeah, you can see there was a little clip at the end. They were actually invited to sing the national anthem at the Oakland Athletics game for Jewish Heritage Night.
What's the name of the band, Jonathan?
Shemati.
What's the name of the band?
The name of the band is so the name of the band is Shemati, which folks know. Means I've heard, but we're loosely translating it as I hear you. And the idea behind the film is I hear you as we're saying, we're hearing this music, we're listening. This is the music of our culture and our tradition, and we're here to respect it. But also it gives a little bit of a sense of what it's like for folk dancing. When you're dancing, you're listening to music and you're reacting to it. And this band, I think, is special because they really only have sets and have fun when there's dancers. They don't really like playing on stage. So they kind of feed off that energy, the call and response from people dancing and enjoying the music.
Where are they based?
In the East Bay, Oakland, Berkeley, so San Francisco Bay Area. So the musician you saw singing, the older fellow in Israel, his name's Effie Netzer. He's 89 years old. He's recorded 30 albums of Israeli folk music. He's still alive, and we're going to try to meet him this year. Yeah, I've spoken to him on the phone a few times. He sounds like he's 50. Yeah, so that's the hope, is we meet him, and we're bringing the young and the old and the East and the West and sort of combining both of those. That's really the through line for the film. And then the other person we hope to meet is Nurit Hirsch, who folks may be familiar with. She is the composer behind Bashana Haba'ah and the melody for Oseh Shalom Bimromav that everyone knows. So. And maybe others, but those are the only two who have agreed, to appear in the film. She's no longer alive. She's no longer alive. So, so Edie Greenblatt, we hope to. I have a list of 12 choreographers in Israel that I need to get in touch with and figure out who we want to kind of include in the movie. Yeah, so there's many. Happy to take another question or two if folks have. If people are interested in helping support the project, I gave everyone a little card with a QR code and a website. We're doing a Kickstarter for the next 29 days. It ends the end of April. No contribution amount is too small, so if folks want to help see this movie get made, we'd very much appreciate it. Thank you. Do you want to say something? Okay.